Hey guys, welcome back to another video. It is Friday, May 3rd. I got the Ozark Trail in the stand. I am going to do a fork swap. I'm gonna take this, what I assume is a steel, very heavy fork. I'm gonna replace it with a carbon fork. Luckily, I ordered a headset in the past and it came with a compression cap, so you're not gonna use a star nut on this. You have to, because obviously you can't jam a star nut into a carbon steer tube. So I got this and I held on to it and I kept it on the workbench there. And it must have been for a reason, right? So we're doing this fork. Here it is here. This is basically gonna go in here. I'll show you kind of how it works. You turn that little knob and that kind of expands this portion on the sides out. It rests in there like that. So it's gonna lay flush on the top. Wherever I decide to cut it, I have to kind of dry fit this first, see what I want for the steer tube length. And I'm gonna cut it. You have to use a saw on this. I can't use the pipe cutters. So I gotta make sure I got a nice sharp saw, hacksaw laying around, which I believe I do. And then somehow I gotta make sure that I get it cut straight. That's gonna be the biggest challenge for me. So I'm gonna head back over to the bike. So basically, what I'm gonna have to do, you might have noticed, that was a tapered steer tube. This is a straight steer. I have over here on hand a Risk taper fork adapter cup with the bearing that I used on the Marlin 6 to adapt the tapered fork. So I'm gonna use that. That should work just fine. We're gonna drop this out. All right, guys, so I got the stock fork off. I just weighed it. It weighs 3.4 pounds. My Amazon little budget luggage scale is actually working right now. I'm gonna zero it out, put it on the carbon. Let me see if I can do this. Throw it on here. Nice and easy. I'm gonna zero it out. 1 pound. 1 pound. So I'll be about 25 pounds on the bike after we get this on there. I dropped the thing. So I'm gonna go ahead and pop out that bottom cup, and go from there. All right, guys, so I got the bottom cup pressed in as you would expect, no issues. This is a 44, and that's what this cup was here at the bottom. Went in nice and straight. If you're gonna do this and you have some kind of like labeling, I like to make sure it's lined up. It looks nice and neat. So I've got the Risk showing on the side, and then the writing is my life up in the front and the rear. So both sides have the Risk. That's the orientation I went with. Again, I'm gonna probably take these stupid things off. But that's kind of how it looks so far. Top headset cup is gonna remain unchanged. So this is basically just allowing us to adapt this frame to accept a tapered head tube or a steer tube fork. That's what I have with this new carbon fork. From here, I'm gonna dry fit it and see how much I need to cut off of the steer tube. All right, so I've got my bearing on here resting on top of where the crown race would be. According to the Amazon listing, there's no race required. We're gonna dry fit it and see what it looks like. All right, guys, so I got it just kind of dry fitted in here, holding on. Try to get my hands out of the way. It actually doesn't have much of a gap there at the bottom, and I kind of like the way it's starting to shake out. I really appreciate, the modern fork where it's, thin down here and then it tapers up and it gets real thick there at the head tube. Lines up really well with that taper. So it's gonna almost kind of go really well together. And I think that this is gonna save us a whole bunch of weight. So from here, the idea that I have, I want to mark it with the current setup of the spacers. And then hopefully I'm able to cut it nicely with no issues. I'm gonna mark it here just slightly above. That way I have a little bit to play with if I need it. I don't wanna cut it too short. So I'm gonna line that up here. And it's coming together nicely, actually, not too terrible. One thing to mention, this fork came in 2 options. Came in a through axle and it came in quick release. There's a port here for internal cable routing of that front cable. It comes out here on the inside, and hopefully I have enough length. I'm gonna have to possibly do an external routing at the beginning if I don't have enough length, which looks like I probably do. I was initially nervous about this compression cap versus a star nut, but I think this is gonna be just fine. So the idea is, obviously you can't put a star nut in here. This is carbon fiber. This goes in here after you cut it, and this will connect your compression cap or your stem cap and bring everything together. At the same time, this part here is giving a little bit of extra strength along the tubing here, so that way when you go to clamp down your stem, it's not totally like wanting to shatter the steer tube, right? So it's gonna be very important that you don't over tighten these pinch bolts here. We'll have to figure out what the recommended torque setting is. I'm not sure if that was listed either. We'll just have to kind of go by feel, not too much, maybe. And I was thinking there was gonna be more of a gap there. It's pretty damn seamless. So this is gonna look real clean once we get it all figured out. All right, guys, so I had to get a little creative. I couldn't find any 12mm caps for these wheels. I just kind of, you know, slowly but surely increased my drill bit size. I drilled out the quick release caps, and hopefully by putting these on there, it'll fit. I do know that the through axle will now fit through here. So now I should, in theory, be good to go. Let's try it out. All right, guys, so that did the trick. I've got the wheel in there. It's lined up. All right, guys, so I finally got it right. The headset was just a bit loose still. I was just trying to be cautious when tightening down all the compression cap and all that stuff. So it feels good now. It feels like it's right. The only thing that's concerning is that I don't know what size adapter I'm gonna need for the disc brake. So right now I have the cable just kind of run through there and poked, but not all the way through, because the current brake will not go on there, even with the adapter. Got it lying over here. So it's not a matter of the bolts being too short. I don't know if I can do this. Try that. I guess we're gonna scrape a little. So here's kind of how it's shaken out here. So this is the direction that the rotor or the caliper is supposed to go. And this is how it came. So if I try to fit it here, that's how much gap I have. It looks like the bolt spacing is correct. They'll line up, but I'm gonna need some kind of huge freaking adapter, which kind of makes sense because on the stock fork, it's got like a metal tab here, kind of built out so it sticks out more. But what the hell am I gonna do here? So I'm gonna try to run it without a front brake just for a bit while I do the shakedown on it to make sure everything's good. All right, guys, so it's Sunday and the Amazon ferry came. Hopefully this is gonna help me get to riding. I'm gonna ride this evening and test out this new fork. I've had the fork on since Friday, but I found that this is a flat mount. I need an adapter to get the caliper back on, so it's been sitting there. I had a couple of adapters lying around, thought maybe, you know, something that I already had on hand might work. No go. So I got this, and this is a 160mm flat mount adapter. So this should, a flat mount to post mount adapter, whatever it's called. This should get me going. I'm gonna open this up and see how it's gonna work. All right, so this is already looking pretty promising. So you can see there, This is a lot taller than the stuff that I have. Basically, what the problem was, I couldn't get the rotor to go on because there's too much space in between. I would need like 5 million spacers to get it tall enough. So I'm gonna flip the bike over and kind of dry test fit this, see if it's gonna work before I start putting it on there actually. So this is the up, so it is directional. You want to make sure that you're doing this the right way. Hopefully this is going to line up with those holes. Looks like it does. So this is going to bring it out, so my caliper will be able to mount right on there, and I should be golden. So I got to take this this bracket, or this adapter off. This is the one that came on it, so I'm going to undo these. And then once we do that, this will go on the bike, and then the caliper will mount directly onto that. So let's get that going. So I got new brake pads. These ones will work with the stock calipers. If I can, I'll put a link to these from Amazon. So basically, they just slide in here. I'll need to get another pin. Just like that. So these are resin, some kind, I can't remember exactly, but they're different material than the stock ones. I think the stock ones had like copper in them or something. Typically those ones are a little bit more noisy. I think that's what explains kind of the noise. So I'm gonna get a pin, push that in, and that way when I'm ready to go, it'll just be ready to go. All right guys, so I got that new brake pad in there. So now I just have to get this installed on here. Try not to touch the caliper. Just gonna kind of get them started in the holes there. And this just goes right there, and it'll actually fit now. So that's good. That's what we want to see. There were spacers on this side. I think I'm gonna just use one set of the spacers. Get it to bite there so that way it's in place. And then we can do the top one, pull it all the way out. Feed those through. Make sure you're not cross-threading. Okay, so those are on. Nice and good. So I still have a bit of room to get a wrench in there to move the adapter in and out. I also have a little bit of option to move the caliper in and out. So we'll probably have to do a little bit of adjustment as always. So that's good enough for now. I'm gonna feed the cable down, get it back out where it needs to be, line it up. You can see. Now I just have to re-pull this guy up to about where I want it, and then we should be in business.